Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. I just heard some music on the other side of the door. People exercising. I had to shut that quickly. Good morning. Can you just confirm for me that you can see me before we start? Because I by myself added a capture device just now, and it looks like it's working. So I just want to get confirmation before we go too far in the episode. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Put my windshield wipers on here. We just got hit with the most epic bouts of rain. You know, when you're driving and it just starts hammering down, it's the most astonishing thing. You can't even hear yourself think, you know. And then in a split second it's over, and then it happens again, and it's an exciting weather day here. I wonder what it's like where you are. Let's see who's on. Oh, Jane, I see you, my love. I see you already. All right, let's see. April, great to see you. I'm going to look down and see if anyone said, yes, we can see you. Yes, okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, let me move this then a little bit over here, make it a bit more, because I saw my capture device and on my other scene, and it was way over to the side, and I was trying to grab it with the hand's going like this, like, you know, like it's coming out of a grave. It's like one of these Halloween movies, right? It's like, but not actually moving it. Like the claw machine, right? Where you put money in there and the hand's like, and it's like, here, get the glasses, and it's like, that's what the hand was doing. So I'm like, all right, let me figure out if I can add a capture device, and I did. I can't believe it. April, good to see you. Anita, great to see you. You're having good morning in London, Ontario. You're having rain and a bit of sun in between, but that's okay. That is okay. Same exact thing here. Rosalba, great to see you. Ola, good morning. And Karen, great to see you in sunny Black Forest, Colorado. Jane in muggy UK. It is muggy here too. I guess that's why we're getting this violent rain. Joyce, great to see you. Good morning in stormy Pennsylvania. Joyce, we're going to have to check in too for when I drive through Pennsylvania for solder. Want to be sure I see all my buddies who are out there in person. That's going to be a great opportunity. April, you were keeping me company on my morning walk. Oh, that's such a good feeling. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. How fun. We had a great episode on Friday. It was a lot of fun. I'm not done with saying good morning, but I really like looking at the work of other people. I wanted to remind you, if you haven't noticed, that at Ribbon Candy Hooking, which is my brand, Kirsten Gay has a tab there as a seller and as a designer, and her patterns are on sale until, I think, the 4th of July, something like that. So make sure you check for that. That'll be a lot of fun. Lots of announcements to make at the Ribbon Candy Hooking site in the very near future, but I have to keep it zipped for a little while. I don't have to keep this zipped. It's not out yet, the book, but it will be out soon. So this is my first book that's coming out. And you know I'm at the book signing in Madison, Connecticut. There's going to be a few, and I'll give you a list of the dates. But the one in Madison, Connecticut is going to be the first one because it's like 2 days after the book comes out, something like that, on July 20th, right? So I will be there with books to sign. My friend Suzette Crummell is going to be at the magazine Early American Life there. I don't know if it's like symposium. I don't know what the right word is, but she's going to be at that event. I think that's in Ohio. And she has a pile of these books too. So I forwarded some to her because she has quite a bit in the book because she's like the master of the penny rug, right? The penny rug genre. I love how we are like all the crazy X-Men of different things that we do. It's fun. So there's a lot coming up. There's a lot of classes coming up. If you subscribe or to my website, I think you'll be getting an email this morning about all the new stuff that's coming out, and I will add some stuff later this afternoon as well. There's a lot happening, but the least of which is not Kirsten's sale. That is way high on the list, in other words. Poorly worded, but way up on the list. And Friday night was super, super fun. So there's more to talk about there, but I'll be making some more announcements hopefully later in the week. Sharon, great to see you. Good morning in Vancouver, Canada. And Ruth, great to see you. Good morning in rainy Wisconsin. We are getting rain right across the board, aren't we? Oh, Linda Ann, good morning in Edmonton, Alberta. Great to see you. Linda H. in Massachusetts, good morning. Amber, good morning in sunny Alberta. Sharon says, I recently joined ATHA, waiting for my first issue. That's what we're going to be doing today. My membership lapsed. I did not know. Aren't I so naughty? I expect everybody to be like the dentist and write me every other day when I'm like due. They shouldn't have to because I a grown-up girl with my big panties on and everything, and I missed subscribing. So I resubscribed, but I missed some issues. And as it turned out, when I visited my mom, she had the issues. I think I just missed this one. So we're going to be looking at this issue today of ATHA magazine, and I'm sorry that this is late. That is completely me being a boob. This is for April, May 2023. So it's not like, let me put the light on. It's not like it's hideously late, but I just can't believe I missed any. Is that, no, that's all right. I think that's brighter. So yeah, I'm excited about this too. This is I'm only partway through. We have more content that we can use today. We'll probably do this today and tomorrow. I guess I was supposed to do that and fill that out again. That's aggravating. I tend to pull them out and use them as bookmarks, like on the bedside table. But if I don't remember that is the intention, then yeah, things lapse quite a bit. So this is a big issue, 83 pages. That is on a par with the Rug Hooking magazine, the current issue as well. What a gorgeous issue this is. You know, I always feel like these two magazines, I hope I don't say something naughty by accident, because I love them both. I always feel like these two magazines, these are the two like industry magazines, right? ATHA magazine. And ATHA, if you're a beginner or you're new to us, ATHA is the Association of Traditional Rug Hooking Artists. It's a guild, right? There's chapters all over the U.S., but they also put out a magazine. These are two separate enterprises. And I feel like Rug Hooking magazine versus ATHA magazine are very, very different. I always think of ATHA as being more of like, and this isn't patronizing at all because I really love ATHA. I really love ATHA. I love ATHA magazine. I feel like it's more of a scrapbook and a bit more informal in terms of like, oh, what's my friend doing? Oh, I met her before. Oh, what did they do at their meeting this month? Like that kind of, you know, it has the vibe of the Wall Street Journal. And you know how I feel about the Wall Street Journal. It has that vibe. So they're very different magazines. And if you are into rug hooking or textile art or art at all, you want to think about subscribing to both because they could not be any more different and they do not cover the same content at all. So very, very different. ATHA goes chapter by chapter. And when I say chapter, I mean the groups that meet up locally, and tells about, you know, what each chapter's been doing, if they've got some kind of a contest or something happening, some kind of event happening or show coming up. You read about it in ATHA magazine. But it's not like it's a newsletter, right? It's all color. It's a lot of advertising. That's one thing that makes this magazine different. It's paid for by advertising, so there is a ton of advertising in it. But it's also lovely to look at advertising, right? I mean, it's lovely to look at pictures of things and figure out who vendors are. I don't cover that here because I have a store, right? And I like to make sales, and I'd like it if the store continues to exist. But there are a lot of people selling exactly the same stuff as I sell, and it is all beautiful stuff. And I buy that stuff too because I like to play with other people's stuff too. So this is what we're going to do today, Sharon, April. Ava, good to see you. Good morning. Shannon, good to see you. Exercising and washing, I know. Today's my first day for myself that I'm going to go to the gym. I was going to go on Friday. It's been months. I was going to go on Friday, right? I look like, and then there's Maud. Like in every episode, I look like, remember, and then there's Maud. Like I put on so much weight in such a short time. And I was going to go on Friday, but then it started to rain. And I'm not sure that that's an excuse. But at the time it was like, oh, great, now it's raining. Like I'm supposed to exit the house. So I didn't, but I am going to go tonight. And yeah, kudos to you all who are exercising. I think it's just good to keep as much together as possible. The physical, the mental, all the life strings, right? All the life strings. It's important to keep as much together as possible, I think. Particularly, I mean, I'm in my 50s now. Oh, Chrissy, good morning. Great to see you. I missed you. Oh, you had a really nasty storm last night. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Jane. Yeah, I got this weekend. I went to have lunch with some of my elementary school friends. Two of them I'd seen in recent years, but one of them I had not seen since 8th grade graduation. And I stopped at an antique store on the way to see if I could find some rugs, which I did not. But I found this nice necklace for $4, right? It's like, that's a no-brainer. Super fun, and I tried. Melissa, great to see you. I know it's hard with the new time. Appreciate you all being flexible with that. I'm thinking about all kinds of changes with coffee time, not making it less or anything like that. I'm just thinking of lots of ideas for things we can do. I'm going to bounce that off you in just a minute. Isn't it a great feeling when you successfully accomplish something technological? Yes, it's an amazing feeling. That's why I kept saying, are you sure you can? Because when I do something, I'm totally not sure of myself. If I'm doing something with like a sewing machine or a serger or my hands, even like a saw, I'm very, very confident. When I'm pressing buttons on the computer, I'm 90% sure it's not going to work out just based on like history, you know. Oh, I will be at Solder. I will definitely. Well, I'm definitely going to be there, Ava, on Friday because I have my book signing on Friday, and possibly one other event on Friday. But Friday, I will definitely be there. I'll be there with my friend Linda Ann, who's also in the thread, and I'm sure a lot of buddies are going to be there. My Wisconsin friends are going to be there. I'm sure we're all going to latch up. So when the date gets closer, we should be careful about like figuring out how we're going to latch up, so that we can like do lunch or go do something or get together, besides just bumping into each other and go, you look familiar, that kind of thing. Jane. Oh, Jane. Let me know when your date is, Jane, because if it's way far out because you're in the UK, I can send you one in the meantime because Jane does everything for me. So I want to be sure you are stocked up with goodness. Jane saw the book before I saw the book because I didn't have the nerve to open the document and proof the book one final time. I just didn't have the nerve. So Jane did that for me, and you did a great job. It looks amazing. Debbie, great to see you in upstate New York. Raw Cooking Magazine automatically renews. Sharon, I didn't know that. But ATHA doesn't. That must be, I must have just fallen back on my haunches in laziness and just thought that it would. But now I am renewed, so we're all good. But if I think I probably missed another issue though, didn't I? I have to see if my mom's got it. Because this is April, May, so I should also have May, June, July, right? I'm gonna have to see. Deanna. Dave, great to see you. Judy, great to see you. Judy in the UK, great to see you. Catherine, great to see you. Good morning in hot Missouri. Hot Missouri. Oh no, you look like you're on fire over there. I hope that you're okay. I bet it's terribly raging hot. When will you go to Solder? Where will you stay? Sharon, I haven't decided yet. This is like something awful. You're going to hate me for this. But do you remember how I was a tour guide years ago? I have this thing in my head that when there's like a big event and there are a lot of people gathered in one place, I want to be somewhere else. And not because I don't love the people. I know there's a lot of people who will be there that are not a huge fan of my brand because they feel like I'm a whippersnapper and I came out of nowhere. I feel that Coven of Witches dynamic very heavy on me often at any rug event. So while I know that I have a lot of buddies out there now, I know I have a lot of not buddies too. That's awful, right? But I'm aware of it, and I have to kind of protect from that a little bit. So I haven't even looked at where to stay yet, but I'm thinking that Linda Ann and I are going to stay like far and just like drive in from somewhere else because I know that place is booked anyway. Next year, I might actually stay at the venue because I'm teaching there. But it's like when I was a tour guide, at the end of the day, I just had to get out. I had to get away to have some space and to be able to reset. So I have that mentality still. So this year, I don't know yet. And if you have a recommendation, let me know because we probably should book something. But it'll probably be some nothing little chain place somewhere near enough to drive because we'll probably only drive over for a couple of days because that's right at the end of the summer for me. And the kids are about to go back to school too. And I'm driving to Ohio, which is very far from Connecticut. And thank God Linda Ann's traveling with me. But yeah, I still need a place to stay, so I need to think about that. And we'll probably be at Solder. It's up to Linda Ann too, but I would say at least 2 days. If it's maybe 3, it depends on how our days go. But we're turning it into kind of a road trip. So Linda Ann is going to fly to me, and then we're going to be heading out that way and making some stops along the way in Pennsylvania. Hopefully checking out the Magdalena Briner Eby stuff, and anything else we can find. Historic houses, cute antique stores, festivals, art fairs on village greens, anything like that. Cute outdoor cafes, anything like that I would love to do. So I don't know where I'm staying yet, and definitely there on Friday. And that's all I have so far. I know that sounds crazy, but I have like 4 trips between now and Solder with signings and with stuff and with teaching. So for me, it still feels like it's miles away. Thanks, Linda. Yeah, I'm not super lazy. I have to admit, I'm not. I'm lazy I'm lazy with not wanting to go to the gym. But I'm not lazy with life. Sharon, I'm planning on going next year. Okay, well, I'll definitely go next year, and I think I probably will book at the place because of teaching. I'll need to be Johnny on the spot. And I know you can stay at Sauter Village, so that is a possibility too. I want to check it out because I have never been anywhere but through Ohio. I've never been there, and I always like to find a place that's like a bit of a B&B with a little bit of history to it. I don't know if anybody knows of any place like that that's drivable to Sauter Village. I don't mind to drive at all. I don't mind a big commute. But for me, I love places that are like super charming and also old. The older, the better. So I'm definitely looking for a place. Great ice cream place near Sauter. Ooh, Karen, are you going to Sauter this year? I bet you are. It'll be great to see you. I'm hoping I'm going to see you there. Judy, oh dear, I guess every craft has its pecking order. Absolutely. Yep, they all do. They definitely all do. They definitely all do. Because I remember when I first moved from Europe to the U.S., this is just a variety of trash talk, but not really trashy. When I first moved here, I was doing a lot of quilting because even though I had started rug hooking in Europe, it doesn't exist in the Netherlands, and it was hard to practice, and it was hard to do. It was hard to find stuff. So I got back into my quilting, which I've always done, and I joined 2 guilds, and it was the same dynamic at the 2 guilds. It was like who wants to help? Who wants to help plan this year's potluck? And I'd be like, I'd like to plan it, and I'd like to help plan it, and they'd be like, okay, you, the whippersnapper, you plan it. And then it's like, okay, looking for places where we might have it. Maybe we could have it at this nice place. They have all these nice amenities for it. Oh, I'm not going to drive over that bridge. Nothing on earth would have me drive over that bridge. But the people who live on the other side of the bridge are like, no way, I'm driving over that bridge. You think I'm going to go to something in that part of Connecticut? I'm not driving over the bridge. And it's like, I mean, the bridge is maybe a metaphor, but it's everything. And then it's kind of like, oh, God, we really need people who are younger to help us keep this beast on the tracks. But then when you're trying to help and do stuff, it's like, we don't need to hear from the peanut gallery, right? So it's just this weird dynamic, which I think has happened since the beginning of time. This is the same dynamic as at church, right? This is why I don't volunteer for church stuff, because this is exactly what happens. I'm not going to say in every church, but I'm going to say in a lot of churches, right? When you're trying to plan festivals and events and bazaars, it's kind of the same thing. It's the same thing in crafts, at least. Oh, good, Karen. We'll see each other there then. So yeah, so before we get into the episode, it was an exciting, I wanted to show you something. Hang on one second. One second. I'm right here. A couple things happened this weekend when I was on my way out to Rhode Island to see my buddies from so long ago. So this is an SOS for you out there. If you know anything about this, please chime in. I don't know if you remember, maybe 2 years ago on episodes, I'm folding right now, on episodes of Coffee Time, I had stopped at a rug hooking store in Rhode Island. It's in Hope Valley, Rhode Island, called Sweetbriar's Handcrafts. And the woman, Chris, who was running it, super sweetheart, she'd kind of taken it over from the woman who was running it before her, and I don't remember her name off the top of my head. But it was she who had created all of these beautiful Sweetbriar patterns, right? Rug hooking patterns on burlap. Absolutely gorgeous. I bought a giant one that I showed you in that episode that was like a couple of little kids, I think, riding on the back of a cow with a little village. It was very fairy tale in spirit. It was super charming. It was an adorable store. This is foreshadowing because I'm using the past tense, right? And I tried to keep my eye on the store because it's a very depressed town in Rhode Island. But it was a beautiful store. It had obviously been there for a long time. Wasn't super active at all. Only open maybe once a week. Not always reliably, and that was making me a bit nervous. And every time I was in Rhode Island, I couldn't get a pickup with the phone, and I couldn't get communication online, and I was afraid that something had happened. But then, like, I had a friend drive over not that long ago, and she's like, "Oh no, she's there. She's just she comes and goes, you know." And I'm like, okay, because I can't really get her on the phone, and I don't think she was like ghosting me or anything like that. I think it's just communication, and like the store was more of like a local friend's place at that point. You know what I mean? So I was always worried that it would be gone. So when I drove, the last couple times I drove to Rhode Island, it was there and there was stuff inside, but it was closed when I expected it to be open. So that was really disappointing. So I went this time, and you know where I'm going with this. On my way to visit my friends, I left really early so I could be at the shop at 10, because I thought, you know what, I worry about the shop because that was the only shop in this part of New England. And it was small, and they doubled with like some quilting stuff, but she had a lot of the original patterns that the original owner and the creator of Sweetbriar had designed. Like years ago, like in the 80s. And I thought, you know what? They weren't all to my taste, but I want to go and get the rest of the new old stock because then I know that it's safe. I can look at it when I have time. I always wanted to, I was driving her crazy about figuring out how to license the Sweetbriar patterns because they were beautiful. And the store was like closed for good. Like it was empty on the inside. And I was like, dagger through the heart because I just cannot reach Chris. I don't know how to reach Chris. I hope that she's all right. But this has happened many times with this cycle of worrying and then finding out the store is there. And I was just there on a day when she didn't open. If anybody knows anything about Sweetbriar Handcrafts in Hope Valley, Rhode Island, please let me know because I would love to know. I would love to know where the patterns are too. I was so interested in learning more about the brand back in the day. This was the store that back in the day, they used to do like potlucks once a month and because they had a kitchen in the back and they had like a little center island thing and you'd bring your chafing dish. Remember this whole conversation? This is like the most dreamy thing I can think of. Everybody would come bring their chafing dish, bring their hooking, sit down, have some fun, and then they would publish like a spiral bound, you know, the great spiral bound recipe books of Sweetbriar with the projects people had been working on that year and also their great recipes. Just massive inspiration. And although I wasn't there during that era of the store, it absolutely breaks my heart that the store is not there anymore. I don't know how to get information. I looked online to see if the patterns in the stock, right? Because there was no new stock, but Chris had dyed a lot of beautiful stuff. And I would have loved to have bought all of her stuff too. I would have loved, it's not stuff I could have kitted because it was finite, right? So I don't have infinite. But I would have loved to have had it because it's part of that brand's history. I'm from Rhode Island. I grew up in Rhode Island. The store's in Rhode Island. I really wanted to learn more about that brand, right? I went so many times and it was just never open. I just didn't know what to do. You can't leave messages because it would be one of these situations where you call and then you just disconnect. So if anybody knows anything about that, please let me know. So I was just beside myself, but I drove up the street. If you know this area, right up the street, like one block up on this traffic island is what looks like an old Grange or City Hall building. It's an 1880 building. It's called the Barber Building. I don't know what its original function was, but I do know that upstairs, up these really small set of stairs, there's a huge hall up there with the stage, old time, like Meet Me in St. Louis style, where they would have like obviously town floor is still polished, like you can see a reflection in it, absolutely beautiful. Downstairs is like a little rabbit's warren of all of these rooms, and the guy that is there is in his, I think he said he was 86. He had just fallen. Made me real nervous. So he's still there working. It's a remnant store. It's a remnant store for fabric. So I went and I picked up a bunch of fabric and I chatted with him for a long time. So this is the fabric I got from him. And what I'm really doing, let me show it to you like this. I grabbed these because remnant fabric is super cheap. It's like $4 a yard and sometimes less. I got these colors that I'm going to work on a quilt as soon as I can. I had to buy something, right? I had to buy something because he's sitting there and he's in his 80s and he's had this place forever. And I'm sure it's a lot. And he's a sweetheart. He was telling me how he's having a struggle with the town because he wants a flagpole up on the little traffic island in front of the building. And he wants a certain kind so that he can take the flag up and down. And he's older. And I heard a lot. And it was all heartbreaking. We went into this sideline about, this is probably too much information, but about life in general, right? And he's like, everything changes. And he was talking about his wife. And I guess that they are not together in their later years. And he was showing me some of the paintings on the wall that she had done years ago because she was a painter. She's alive. They're just not together. It was just like heartbreaking stuff. You know what I mean? It was heartbreaking stuff. And it just made me think more than ever how important it is to keep your finger on the pulse of like the businesses and the people who are around you, particularly businesses like this that are, you can tell are quiet. And you don't want them to disappear. Those are the ones you need to be really vigilant about and shop at and pay attention to because suddenly they're literally gone. I also got this bolt from him of this pretty pink and black check. It's flannel because I plan to put out, when it gets a little cooler again in the autumn, an all flannel pattern for hooking. So I got this bolt from him and I'll get a whole bunch more flannel. But it was a bit, it was just a bit of a heartbreaking kind of a day. And then it was great to see my friends. We hung out in Bristol at Aiden's, right on the water, and I was there for like 8 hours. I wasn't drinking the whole time. Super fun, super, super fun. I can't believe that we are in our 50s because we saw, like with one girl, we saw each other at the graduation of 8th grade. So that was a really long time ago. It was super fun, super fun. And I did my due diligence looking for rugs, at a couple of the antique stores. And they were the ones that I had seen before, that I had photographed before and put on our Facebook group before, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. So nothing new under the sun. So more searching in the near future, more updates on where the rugs are, where the action is, and all of that stuff. Amber says we need to stop supporting those who are stuck in the past that stifle the future. There is room for everyone in the industry. I completely agree with that, Amber. And I'm sure you can tell I'm super careful about that conversation because as with all crafts, I feel like there's lots of different styles within it. And at the end of the day, the reason I love this craft, rug hooking, is because I love historic rugs. I love the bent nail days of sitting by the fire, right? Like the 1860s, 1870s. And to me, that style of primitive rug making is super folky, now super valuable, very primitive, based on thrift, and very, very creative, right? Just by nature creative, because you're ripping up stuff and you're plugging it in. And we went very far in the 20th century into being having a lot of nice things. Of course, money, right, in the 20th century too, particularly in the 80s, right, buying expensive hooks, buying expensive cutters, buying expensive supplies. Pendulum swung very far away from the roots of the craft. And while I love both schools, I think it's important to always remember that it's not even a question of both schools. It's many schools of hooking, many different styles of hooking. One is not better than the other. If you are learning to hook, you are not on the road to this look, and that is the end game. It doesn't work like that. You are on the road to finding your own style, whatever style you like the most, whatever techniques you like the most, whatever supplies you like the most, right? It's not like I'm rug hooking, so I need to learn A, B, and C, and then I have succeeded once I have successfully put those feathers in my cap. It doesn't work like that. It's a craft like every other craft where there's tons of voices, tons of styles, tons of options as far as material, finished looks, technique, infinite of everything. And I think we do have to remember that because I think we still get really tripped up with the one very, and I'm not against realism, but the one very sort of realistic style is what most people think of as rug hooking. And that is not the early days of rug hooking. That is not the original idea of rug hooking. And it is great to have that as one of our many choices to choose from, but it is not the only one. And when people come to this craft, they should really know, well, I'm probably not ever going to be good at that really intense shading school of hooking, but I think I'd like to do it, and maybe the primitive style suits me more, or maybe something in the middle suits me more, or maybe I have an idea for something that no one has seen yet, and I'm going to bring it. Well, that's perfect, isn't it? Oh, Danny, great to see you. Those people would hate you. You know, Danny, the 20th century people might not like your work, but if we could time travel, Jane, you were just talking about this. You just left me a message and said, oh, I wish I had one of those. What's the Doctor Who museum? Did you say Tardy or TARDIS, something like that? You said, oh, if I could just get into the something machine, I could be with you this afternoon. Yeah, Danny, if we were to get into that machine and you were to go back to the 1860s and they saw you doing the face emojis using like your t-shirts and stuff and binding them with your t-shirts, they would create like a cult that was devoted to you. Like they would. You would be like a religious figure. I hope that doesn't sound sacrilegious, but I'm joking. But they would love you. Totally different school, and neither one is right. And we really do have to stop looking at people's work. And when I say we, I hope I'm not including myself, and going, oh, it's good, but you need more work in this department, or you need more help with your colors, or you need more. When people finish a project and they like it, that is their work, and that is their style, and that is how they do it, baby. And if they ask you for help with, I would like to learn to shade better, or I would like to understand the color wheel better, that's a different conversation. But a lot of people finish their work, and it is not technically astonishing because the emphasis is on creativity and not technical prowess, then you look at that and you think, I like it, I don't like it, doesn't matter. They do like it, and this is what they mean to do. So they have reached the end game. You could reach the end game on your first rug because you figure out how to do it, and you're like, I love this style. I sit on the couch and I rip up my husband's old flannel shirts and I hook with them with a crochet hook into burlap, and I love that. This is my end game. I don't want to know anything else. I want to do more of this. Wash and repeat. There's nothing wrong with that. There's the opposite of nothing wrong with that. That is heaven, right? That is fantastic. Judy says that's the folk process. That's how art and music and stories grow. Absolutely. And along those lines, I'm sure this is the follow-through thought, along those lines, everything evolves, right? So rug hooking evolved into being very, very, very technical. And that came with the advent of many schools of certification, not just Pearl McGowan. There are many people certifying, and that was a great thing because it meant that the craft had a massive renaissance since the Victorian period, and a lot of people were teaching and a lot of people were learning. It was just, for me, the happiness ends when people start saying, you need to buy this and you need to buy that. And it needs to look like this. And yours doesn't look enough like mine, so you need to pull it out and work on it again until you get there. For me, that's where the joy ends. And that's where my patience ends too. Because that's not the point. That's not the point of any craft. Can you imagine? Can you imagine in another craft? Imagine if painters, you went into someone else's studio and you took a palette knife and you're like, nope, rewind, erase. This whole tree, this is garbage. Maybe an art teacher does that, but like your friends, your contemporaries, your fellow hobbyists, they don't do that. I also don't think your teacher is supposed to do that, right, in this day and age. So it's a tough conversation. It's one that comes up often, so we have it often. And I think that we handle it really well because I love all kinds of rug making. I love all kinds of textile, and I love all kinds of art. I look at everything, I buy everything, I enjoy everything. I don't think that one is ever better than the other. I think we all fit into the story somewhere, and we shouldn't be remarking on where other people fit into the story. That's the bottom line. Karen says, Judy says, yes, exactly the same with quilts. Today we use glue. It was paper and cotton scraps. Yep, that has evolved hugely. All the tools, all the cutting tools, all the sort of Sissics and Cricut type cutters, right, that you can use to do applique stuff. Super fun to have all that stuff to play with, and it is a new world. It opens up a new world, but it doesn't mean that the way people did it in the 1920s on a feed sack was wrong either, right? We would never say that, but there's a lot of people out there that feel more black and white, and that's the attitude that we need to address and agree to disagree on if we're going to move forward as a craft, because it's still, rug making is a tiny craft. And for us to, I think, spill over or reach other disciplines, textile disciplines like spinning and weaving and sewing and quilting and other kinds of needle crafts, we have to get on board together with saying, your way is also okay. My way is just one way. And for some reason in rug making, it seems a little bit harder than it does in other places to say, your way is also good. I just prefer this way. So it'd be good to get on equal footing with that sooner rather than later, right? Karen says, I love exploring all kinds of fiber art. All styles deserve respect. Absolutely. And Karen, you are the master of reaching out and trying different things. And you try and you excel at everything that you do. It's really remarkable. Your Felix cat is incredible. You do stuff that's graphic, you do stuff that's Felix, you do stuff right across the board, and it's all fantastic. So that's exciting to watch. That's the right attitude. Hey, Colleen, if everyone hooked the same, how bland would life be? Absolutely. If everyone hooked the same, if everyone cooked the same, if everyone read or wrote the same books, how boring would life be, right? Really. Danny says, yes, the fun is figuring out and enjoying what you do while you do it. That's right. Because if you're not enjoying it while you do it, you're not doing the right thing, are you? If you're always looking at the other side of the bridge and how far the tunnel is, that's not a good frame of mind to be in, right? That means you're not doing it right. Because the whole point is to John Lennon it and have the adventure along the way. And not be looking to the end, right? Which sometimes we do at the end of a long project. Believe me, we all at the end of a long project are like, stick a fork in me, I'm done. But in general, while you're working on a project, you want to go, okay, I'm going to sit down on the couch. I've got a few more episodes of Agatha Raisin ahead of me. I'm probably going to work for the next 5 hours, and I'm really going to enjoy this tree. That's ideal, isn't it? Doesn't always happen. And Sharon says, I still haven't graduated from hooking with yarn. It's great. You never have to graduate. You can keep going with that. It's a lot of fun. So let's make a I'm going to make a departure from this. I love this conversation, but I always get a lot of emails after this kind of talk, and that's okay. Candace, good morning. Great to see you. I'm going to shoot. All right, I'm in the right window already because I installed that device. Believe it or not. Trivia question for the morning. What TV show was that? Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Do you remember? I think it was maybe a very American show. So hold on, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of my face. Hang on. Yeah, hang on. Here we go. Here we go. The hand is trying to grab. It's doing the claw machine. There we go. Let me get rid of me. And let's come over here and do some ATHA. Good time. Greatest American Hero. Wasn't that fantastic? Wasn't that a great show? I love that show. So let's look at ATHA magazine. And I meant to show you before I did that. Did I do that? I meant to show you the cover, right? So this is an older one because, again, my subscription lapsed and I didn't realize it. Which I also feel heartbroken because I love ATHA magazine. I love it. I love the spirit of it and I love the community feeling of it. So what I really love about this issue of ATHA, this is my favorite one in a long time. Of course, I've missed the most current one. On the cover, right, this is exactly what we're talking about right now. On the cover are 9 works of art, right? These are all rug hooking projects. The Fanciful Tree of Life, a free pattern designed by Martha Lowry. Find full-size pattern in the April-May 2020 issue of ATHA or download from atharugs.com/members tab. So what I love about this was a free pattern that was offered up 3 years ago in a different ATHA magazine. This is like a group challenge. Were you listening to that the other night, Linda Ann, the Greatest American Hero on TV? I loved that guy. He reminded me of Gene Wilder with the tight blonde curly hair. I love the spirit of this because we have got the Fanciful Tree of Life is a free pattern. Already, I love this project because a lot of people were able to do it and it didn't cost anything, right? Except your own supplies and what you have already. And featured on this one cover, there are 9 people's work. That just gives me the shivers. It makes me so happy because I know that these 9 people, when they saw this cover, were thrilled and excited. And these are 9 great pieces and they all deserve to have their work on this cover. I just think this is exciting, positive, right? Really positive. This is a beautiful, beautiful cover. It's a beautiful issue too. Let me show this before I move on. Letter from Trisha Travis, always at the beginning. She's always sweet and has something smart, interesting, and informative to say. Big table of contents, as always. A really excellent issue. So I'm going to first look at this episode, why do I struggle with words so much? This article that is called A Challenge Met. I thought it said a challenge mat. It's a challenge met. And this is by Cynthia Norwood, who is like one of, another rug hooking royalty person in Austin, Texas. She is ATHA Region 9, and her chapter is the Stash Sisters chapter. And also the Western Reserve chapter. So I want to first look at this article called A Challenge Met. Let's look at this together. Well, certainly, oops. Yeah. So this article, again, is by Cynthia Norwood, and it starts like this. A very busy ATHA board member mentioned in November she was going to do the free ATHA Library Pattern Challenge for the ATHA magazine, The Art of Rug Hooking. My first thought was, I'm too busy to even think about doing it. My second thought was, if she can find time to do it with all that's going on in her life, I should definitely try. And that is the truth, isn't it? Remember that saying, there is exactly enough time for everything that is important, right? If it's important to you, you must find time for it, and you will find time for it. Bonnie, good morning. Good to see you. Hello in Texas. So this is a challenge. She says, I started by accessing the free pattern library under members only in the atharugs.com website. So let's hold on that for a second, right? Because I just want to remind, I did it again. I've got 2 windows with captures now. Hang on. I just want to remind you again that ATHA is both a magazine and it's an organization, right? It's the same thing, but they are 2 different enterprises. So if you belong to your local ATHA chapter and you show up every month and get to hang out and hook with your friends and participate in those rug sales and hear speakers, right, and all that, that's your membership to ATHA, the group. That's a social and learning opportunity. That is like a guild, right? The equivalent of a guild. The magazine is a magazine. It's a subscription to a magazine. So just so you know, for ATHA, just because you belong to the guild doesn't mean you subscribe to the magazine, right? That because it's so inexpensive to belong to the guild and it's so inexpensive to belong to the magazine, that would be financially impossible. That would be bankruptingly impossible, if that's a word. So if you were to subscribe to ATHA, just to let you know in case you don't, I'll put the thing right here. And you can see, let me get it in focus. It says, wait a minute. Come on, you stinker. There we go. So 6 fabulous issues a year, cost for the US 32, cost for Canada 34. So that's not a lot, right? To get all these. If you go into Joann's or Michael's and you want a Somerset Studio magazine, that's like $17 or something. This is a great value. So they were going into a past episode, a past issue of ATHA magazine to get this pattern. And right, this is how does it begin? This is how it begins. So she accesses the pattern, and this is Cynthia Norwood, on the atharugs.com website, logging in as a member, right? And she quickly locked onto Edith O'Neill's flame pattern. Now we know Edith O'Neill from the book, I think it's Little Red, no, what is it? House, oh, come on. I know we covered it. It's like, I want to say the Red House or the Red Cape. It's Red Cape, isn't it? I think Red House is my other friend Judy's, but this is Edith and this is Red. I think this is Rugs from the Red Cape, right? Red Cape, Blue Door, and I think the house is not there anymore because it had a fire. We talked about all this in past episodes. Oh, Sharon says, does ATHA acknowledge needle punch as a legit form of hooking? That is a great question. They do show pieces that are punched. I have yet to see any. They do show pieces that are punched, that are applique, that are prati. But I might be wrong, and I don't think it's an attitude problem. I think it's just what people have been working on thing. I don't see examples of, for example, mini punch. And mini punch has been huge with us. This pattern, I'm still working on making it and shipping it. This is the best-selling pattern I've ever had, this mini punch pattern in classes coming out. I don't see that yet. But it's not because, it's different than Rug Hooking Magazine. The articles are from people who are in the chapters themselves. You don't have to be the president of the chapter to submit an article, right? There's very small articles. There's one-page things. It's more of like a scrapbook or a yearbook where everybody can contribute. And there's always a shout out at the end for rugs that are a certain theme that you can contribute, right? So it's based more on what you're working on than it is like their view of what should be next or where the craft is at, right? So for example, their themes calendar, these are some of their upcoming themes. So if you have rugs that fit this theme or you want to work on something that fits this theme, person outside doing God knows what. Okay, so for August, September 2023, now the deadline's already passed, hooking in a series. So that's passed because I'm late with the magazine. I'm sorry about that. Deadline October 1st for this subject, December and January 2024, from child art to rug. Oh, that is a great one. That is a great, what I have right here. My daughter Jocelyn's jam sandwich, right, this edge came off. I've got to put that on. I was framing it out with an old colored ruler, but that is jam sandwich, right? So if you have some beautiful childhood art, some child in your life, or even not in your life, right? You found something beautiful somewhere, turned it into a rug, or you would like to, make sure you get that in by October 1st. Next deadline for next, very far out, February 2024, the subject is fractors. God, that's incredible, isn't it? That's incredible. Their turnaround is fast, too. So, for example, the fracture deadline is February 1st, 2024, and the article comes out for the April-May issue. And you know if it's an April-May issue, it comes out at the end of March, right? So that's a very fast turnaround. That's very, very impressive. So some of the other upcoming subjects are family portraits old and new, sports rugs, from the garden, fruit, veggies, and flowers, 21st century folk art, travel rugs, and angel rugs. That's projecting way forward to April, May of 2026, right? So they show you in the back, it's just a completely different magazine, what everybody's working on, and a lot of people will read this magazine and say, I would like to participate, I would like to send something in, and they're looking at the next project. So for that reason, we don't see a lot of different techniques. We see mostly rug hooking. But I get a feeling that this is a very friendly publication, and they are well interested in all kinds of rug making techniques. I'd be very surprised if they weren't. It would definitely be worth it. It's worth send. I think I'll send an email to Trisha because I'm in touch with her. Let me ask her about. That's a real specific thing. Let me ask her about how narrow they are in terms of mediums and technique in accepting articles, not just pieces, but articles, in case anyone's interested in writing an article and submitting it, right? Thank you, Rita. My red cape, Edith. Thank you. Perfect. Rita, good to see you. Colleen says, ATHA stands for Association of Traditional Rug Hooking Artists, but I know that they have shown Oxford Punch is definitely Oxford Punch. I'm wondering what else, though. I don't think we're going to see tufting in there anytime soon because it's also the demographic of people who are reading it, working in the craft, and sending stuff in, right? That has to be figured in, too. It's hard to answer a question like that, so I'm going to get the answer from Trisha. So this is Edith O'Neill's flame pattern. Now it must be flame. Remember how if you ever did Bargello, there was a stitch called flame. It was, or any kind of needle embroidery, right? Any kind of needle work. Flame is one of the common stitches and so beautiful. So this is called flame, just flame. New thoughts. I could kill two birds with one stone. I wanted to hook a small project for part of a friend's daughter's for a friend's daughter's weddings, and I could accomplish that and participate in the ATHA challenge. So she talks at length about, for example, getting her Sharpies out, which is what this image is. Getting her Sharpies out, getting the drawing down, right? Getting it down, ready to hook. And then she talks about transferring it. She talks about selecting her materials, and these are some of the samples that she used. There are 3 different paisleys. There is like a houndstooth and a tiny black and white woven. There is a blue and black plaid, 3 different brown-based plaids, and 3 different kind of mossy / drab / olive green plaids. So this is the color palette that she was looking to do. She's got her thing drawn out, right? She's got the finalized line drawing, and here it is. And here's the finished rug. Absolutely beautiful, and so much more to it in the article. She talks technically about how she did this. So how do you get from point A to point B? But these, you can see the materials and the paisleys are present. Mixed media is acceptable. Okay, so Rita says mixed media is acceptable. So that's very good information, because if you're working in other styles, not just traditional punch, but other forms of rug making, it is good to know that you can send your stuff in. And I think it would be good to do that, right? Just broaden it out a little bit. Open it up a little bit. Now, we start, after that article, we start with a series of, almost like a gallery section, where we're looking at single works from people from different chapters across the country who are sending in works, and they are printed in the page with a little bit of a description. So this is a bit of a mixed bag at this point. I love this section because I love a mixed bag. So this first image is called My Wild Irish Hair, and this is from April, May 2020. So I think this is going to be one of the patterns that was in the magazine. The pattern is actually, the design is by Cheryl Bolenbach, and this is hooked by Tricia Miller of Alstead, New Hampshire. So she is Region 1, New England, and she's the Quabbin chapter, which is Western Mass, Southern Western Mass. That's one of the chapters that I belong to, too. Great, fun group of people. The original pattern was rectangular, and I decided to place the rabbit in an egg-shaped frame with a surrounding border, sort of a Celtic Easter bunny. The pattern was included in the March-April 2020 issue of ATHA's Art of Rug Hooking. And again, this is designed by Cheryl Bolenbach, and it's hooked by Tricia Miller of Alstead, New Hampshire. So we have a section of the book, and incidentally and coincidentally, there is another, right? Because since the theme of this issue, just like I was saying, coming up, sports, fracture, children's art, the theme of this issue was past free patterns in ATHA magazine, right? So that's what people are sending in for the gallery pages. And I noticed, let me see if I can find it, that I noticed that there was one more of the Wild March hair from the same magazine, of course, right? Different person hooked it. Let me see if I can find it because I don't think I did a picture. I didn't do a picture yet because I knew I wouldn't get to all the content today. Let's see if I can find it for you though, because it was another absolute beauty, and I love to be able to not compare, but I love to be able to point out the differences between more than one piece. But why can't I find it? Did I dream it? No, there it is. All right, let me put my bookmark in. And this is the other example. So my Wild Irish Hair, I'm going to hold this up for you, by Ilda Terry of Topsfield, Mass., still region #1. How appropriate that you are the one collecting these pictures for the, oh, how funny. So she's writing this in for the April, March. Okay, let me fast forward that because that's a bit of friendly chatter. My Wild Irish Hair. I had to lose the shamrock since I did them twice and was not happy with them. So she originally hooked this with shamrocks. I wonder if they were in the background. You'll see what I mean when I hold it up. This rug was a personal challenge for me since I've never done a realistic animal. I'm happy with the result though. Thanks for the great pattern. This pattern was included again in the March-April 2020 issue of ATHA's Art of Rug Cooking magazine, this magazine. Again, patterned by Cheryl Bolenbach, but this one is hooked by Ilda Terry, and this is a different version of the same Wild March hair with the Celtic knot. Isn't that fabulous? I can almost see shamrocks in the back, right? I can almost see that happening. Absolutely beautiful. So yeah, this part of the magazine focuses on the examples that people sent in, fulfilling the theme of the month. So I'm not showing all of them because I want you to be interested in the magazine and subscribe to the magazine. This is the one that was one of the ones on the cover, and this again, the pattern is called Fanciful Tree of Life. This particular example is hooked by Jana, Jana Stearns, Starns of Wilson, Wyoming. I am attaching a photo of the rug I hooked with the free pattern Fanciful Tree of Life by Martha Lowry from the April-May 2020 issue of ATHA. Although I realize the second photo may not have a place in this section, oh, I'll show it to you. It does have a place. I'll include it anyway. The photo is of my friend Kathy Phoenix and I with our similar rugs. We live about 2 hours apart, but we hooked for many hours together constructing these rugs. They were the catalyst of what became a beautiful friendship. So look at this example. So this is by Jana Stearns. Beautiful example of standing wool, right? So quilly in the tree. Quilly are the rounds, like the little cinnamon roll rounds. When we're talking about doing something that looks like quilly, but it's not actually like a rondelle, it's more often called standing wool. So in other words, if you look at the tree trunk, that is all standing wool that has been manipulated, stitched, or tacked into place with a stitch so that it stays in that configuration, attached to the backing fabric, probably with a needle, and then hooked around it, right? By hooking loops around it, you're securing it into place very effectively. And there are lots of quillies on the tree, in the sky, right? In the background. On the bottom left, there is a second kind of plane or shelf of ground, and that has both quillies in standing wool, kind of loop-de-looped in there. Lots of techniques. There's like a tassel shape on the bottom left-hand side of the trunk. It is remarkable, Judy. And that is also standing wool. Then we've got some lovely hooked pieces, parts, straight up rug hooking, beautiful directional hooking. This is a fantastic sampler of techniques. We've got a lot of proddy, 2 proddy flowers that we're looking at with the shaped petals being pushed through, right, or pulled through, depending on which of the 2 tools you're using. Absolutely beautiful. Jana, this is absolutely beautiful. And this is the photo she was referring to. This is Jana and her friend Kathy. So Kathy was working to, oh, this is Kathy's right next to it. I'm going to make sure I have this one in the slideshow too. It also gives you an impression of the scale of these pieces, because I was picturing little dinky pieces. These are larger than I thought. These are absolutely beautiful. It doesn't say the size, but you can tell. You can get a sort of estimate of the size here. Absolutely beautiful. Let me make sure that I have Kathy. Yep, this is Kathy's. So Kathy Phoenix of Idaho Falls, Idaho. I would like to submit my photo of the Fanciful Tree of Life rug I hooked from the free pattern, again, Martha Lowry, April, May 2020. My friend Janice Stearns and I decided to work together and help each other learn and construct the special techniques for our individual pieces. We even pulled our final loops at the same time. We had such a good time working on this together. We were a little sad to have finished the tree. And she said, thank you, Martha. Thank you, ATHA Magazine. This is another gorgeous piece. So we are looking here. Let me make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, my legs might, yeah. I had this on my lap this morning while I was, there's my shirt that I'm wearing while I was taking the photos for this slideshow. Let's look at it a little bit closer because there's lots of different techniques here. So we are seeing the flowers, the Prati flowers. We are seeing some beautiful quilly. We are seeing some braided or like chain, in crochet it's a chain stitch. I'm not sure if the word stitch is right, but there are a couple of there's at least one branch that the wool strips are like chained together as if you chain crocheted them and probably applied with a needle after. That's a lot of fun too. Lots of straight hooking, beautiful dark background, lots of quilly in the background. I'm thinking that this, and again, lots of standing wool in the background and that second like passage of land in the background. What looks like couching to me, laying down a fiber or a strip and rolling, twisting over it with needle stitches to secure it down. For example, the shoulder of the bird, the tail of the bird, right? So many different techniques. The tail of both birds, actually. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It's so fun to see all these techniques. The color's very different between even these two, but I just love them. Doesn't that standing wool look fabulous shooting up the tree like that? Doesn't that look fabulous? I mean, it really gives you the sense of the bark of a tree too, doesn't it? I mean, it's just really pretty. It's already 11:59. I know we talked a lot at the beginning. So I'm going to put the brakes on this because I've got lots of other stuff to work on. Got to get some orders out, and I'm still finishing up the second book, the Design-like book. Make sure you check out the website. Make sure you look for that email of things that are about to happen in the near future. Lots going on with the brand, lots going on at the Ribbon Candy Hooking Store. I will be here with you. I will be here Wednesday. We will look at, we'll finish looking at the ATHA magazine, right? We'll enjoy that immensely. Let me look at my calendar really quick because I know we've got a big holiday coming up here. 4th of July is coming up really quickly. And let's see. Okay. All right. Joss has a doctor's appointment. I missed that one. Okay, so we're good for Friday night. I'll be with you Wednesday and Friday this week. And we'll see what we're going to work on for Friday night. But in any case, I just wanted to let you know I will run the sort of full course of live shows this week. So I'm with you today. I'll be with you again, summer hours, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And then we will be together on Friday. This is an idea I wanted to bounce off of you, right? This is what I meant to say at the beginning. What do you think of this idea? Does anybody like to do crosswords? And the reason I ask is because while I was filling orders yesterday, I was doing a lot of winding for the mini punch. And I had some time, so I was watching the Hallmark Channel, as I often do, particularly like their mysteries and stuff. So I was watching the series called Crossword Mysteries. So far, I've only found 3 episodes. I don't know if there's more, but they're like full-length movies. And I really like the guy who's the lead in it. He's like my favorite of the Hallmark actors. But they're great and they're fun, and they're mysteries that revolve around a crossword puzzle. And I thought, would it be fun if, for example, for Friday, what if I made a crossword that was rug hooking related, and I put it out as like a PDF, and you could print it out and try to complete the crossword, and all of the words linked to different subjects within rug hooking, right? And names of people, names of styles, names of famous patterns, locations, right? Things like this. What if we did a crossword that was based on rug hooking, and then during cocktail night on Friday, if you printed it out and played along and completed the crossword as much as you could, I would fill in all the words, and then we would have kind of a slideshow to support the specific rugs, the specific artists, the specific things that we're talking about that are the answers to the crossword clues. Could that be fun? Because I know in the past I have made up crosswords, and I haven't done it for years. And I remember that I loved doing it. So it does sound like fun. It's something different for us. I like when we do something interactive on a Friday night, you know. So let's do that. I'll work on a crossword probably tomorrow and I'll get that up. I'll let you know on Wednesday. I'll put the link to it in the body of our Wednesday show. And then you can print it out between Wednesday and Friday night for cocktail night and see how much of it you can complete. And of course you can cheat if you want. It's for fun, right? It's for fun. I'm not grading them. But yeah, let's do that. I think that'll be different. If it goes well, maybe it's something we'll do like once a month or every other month or something like that. But hey, have a good afternoon. If you need me, I'm at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Remember that Kirsten Gay's patterns are for sale in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store until I think 4th of July or 4th of July. And I will see you on Wednesday at summer hours, 11 a.m. Eastern